Imagine for a second, right, that you are walking out of um, a really crowded, just deafening city street.
Like one of those overwhelming, noisy environments where you can barely think.
Yeah, exactly. You step straight off that street and into this massive ancient library. The heavy wooden doors just shut behind you, and the silence is so absolute it almost rings in your
This
ears.
total sensory shift.
Right, but instead of seeing thousands of books lining the walls, you look around and you just see a few short sentences carved into this heavy, dark stone. And that's it. That's the entire collection.
Oh, wow. That imagery really forces an immediate kind of physiological shift, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because when you're starved of that usual sensory overload,
Yeah.
the endless scrolling, the notifications, all the
hmm
every single word presented to you suddenly carries this immense gravity.
Yeah, you aren't just skimming content anymore at that point.
Exactly. You are standing in front of an obelisk, essentially decoding a very specific worldview.
And that feeling, that heavy stone room feeling, is exactly where today's deep dive is taking you. We are unpacking the philosophy of a highly specific, contemplative, and honestly quite heavy corner of the internet.
We're looking at a YouTube channel called Silent Dark Mind. Right?
Yes, Silent Dark Mind. And I really need to establish up front just how unusual our source material is today. We are not analyzing some massive media empire here.
No, definitely not. There's no high production value or huge team behind this.
Right. We're looking at a micro channel. I mean, we're talking 54 subscribers, 7 total videos.
7 videos, and all of them are under a minute long. They are completely devoid of any flashy editing, quick cuts, loud music, anything like that.
Yeah, the channel literally welcomes you to its world with a single black heart emoji.
Which sets the tone perfectly. The aesthetic is just deeply intentional and entirely unapologetic.
It really demands a deliberate, intense focus from you as the viewer.
It does. And together, these 7 short videos titled Silent Mind Rules 1 through 7, they form this dense, unified manifesto about stoicism, power, and, well, the darker realities of human nature.
So to really understand this silent dark mind, we have to start right at the foundation, which is basically how this philosophy demands that you process the world around you.
Right, the internal mechanics.
Yeah, there is a relentless focus on the architecture of observation versus reaction. The channel lays down this very stark mandate in Rule 1. It says, silent people observe everything, strong minds stay calm.
And then Rule 6 builds right on that, saying intelligent people notice everything, they just don't react to everything.
Which is such a massive shift from how we usually operate.
It is. That deliberate separation of perception and action, it's the core mechanism of this entire philosophy. Because in our normal everyday psychology, noticing a stimulus and reacting to it are tied together, right?
Yeah, in a really tight, incredibly fast loop.
Exactly. A neurological loop. You're driving, someone swerves into your lane, you notice the danger, and you immediately lay on the horn. Stimulus, response.
Right, but in social or professional environments, that automatic loop is actually a massive vulnerability.
A huge vulnerability. And the silent dark mind essentially advocates for severing that loop entirely.
But wait, I have a question about that. Because if you are noticing everything, of every slight, every passive-aggressive comment at work, every threat, but you are actively suppressing your reaction, aren't you just acting as a sponge for toxic energy?
Right.
Like, how do you not just internalize all that noise and let it destroy you from the inside out?
So the key here is that you don't internalize it because you aren't actually suppressing an emotional response.
What do you mean?
You're preventing the emotion from forming in the first place by categorizing the event merely as data. When you react emotionally, you are validating the stimulus. You're basically saying, this external event has power over me.
Oh, I see.
By purely observing, you strip the event of its emotional weight.
I was actually trying to visualize this process earlier, and it made me think about a specialized optical filter on a high-end camera lens.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, a premium optical filter doesn't put a blindfold on the camera, right? It lets all the light in, it takes in the entire spectrum of the landscape, so it notices everything.
Right.
But the glass is chemically engineered to strictly block out the harmful UV rays that would blow out the exposure or ruin the image.
That's a great analogy.
In this philosophy, the intelligent mind is that filter. You let in all the raw data. You observe every single detail of a room, every subtle shift in a colleague's tone, the subtext of an email, but you strictly filter out that instinctive, ego-driven urge to respond.
That captures the mechanics of it perfectly. And honestly, maintaining that filter requires a terrifying amount of cognitive discipline.
Oh, I bet.
Because by letting in all the light but filtering out the reaction, you're hoarding actionable information while giving absolutely zero data back to your environment.
You become like a black hole for information.
Exactly. You observe the board, but you completely refuse to show anyone the cards in your hand.
Which brings up a critical problem, I think. You can't just be a black hole forever.
Right. Eventually you have to interact with the world to get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And the channel addresses this with Rule 2. It draws a very sharp, almost dangerous line between the idea of reacting to something and making what it calls a move.
The doctrine dictates that loud minds react, but silent minds move.
Right. And it ends with this chilling phrase, too late when noticed. So what is the fundamental difference here? Because to me, a reaction and a move sound like two ways of describing the exact same physical action.
They do sound similar, but the difference really comes down to the origin of the action and who holds the autonomy.
Okay, break that down for me.
A reaction is fundamentally controlled by external stimuli. If you react, it means someone or something else pulled your strings. They dictated the timing, the location, the emotional temperature of your response.
So if a coworker sends a hostile email copying your boss, and you immediately fire back a defensive reply,
You haven't made a move. You have reacted. You are playing their game on their turf, basically as a puppet to their instigation.
you essentially just hand over the remote control to your own nervous system.
Yes, exactly. But a move, on the other hand, is entirely internally generated. It is calculated, deliberate, and fiercely independent of the immediate chaos around you.
So it's on your terms.
100%.
Yeah.
When you move, you might address that same hostile coworker, but you do it 3 weeks later in a completely different context, in a way that serves your long-term strategy.
So you aren't just swatting away whatever the world throws at you. You are redesigning the world to your specifications.
Precisely. And that pairs perfectly with that chilling warning you mentioned earlier. Too late when noticed.
It's so ominous.
It proves that the silent mind uses its lack of noise as a weaponized form of camouflage.
Oh, wow. Camouflage.
Think about it. If you were a loud mind, constantly reacting to everything, you are effectively a siren. You're constantly telegraphing your position, your emotional state, your insecurities, your capabilities. Everyone knows exactly where you stand.
Right, because you're broadcasting everything.
But the silent mind uses the absolute stillness of observation to mask its intentions. By the time the environment registers that a move has been made, the objective has already been secured.
There's literally no time for the opponent to mount a defense.
Exactly.
So if the internal state is this guarded and the moves are this camouflaged, we really have to look at how this philosophy defines external success.
Right. How does the silent dark mind actually wield power in the real world?
Yeah. And the channel dictates a very clear rule of engagement here in Rule 3. It says, never reveal your next move. Let success speak.
And Rule 7 reinforces that by saying real power isn't loud, it's controlled.
So we are transitioning from this internal psychological discipline to a very cold, pragmatic, external strategy. If the mind is silent, its strategy out in the real world has to be equally invisible.
That's the logical next step.
But I actually have to push back on this concept of absolute invisibility a little bit, especially when we frame it within our current reality.
Okay, what do you mean?
Think about the world you and I live in right now. I mean, if you're listening to this, think about your own career or your own social circles. We live in an era that aggressively demands that we build in public.
Oh, yeah. The whole hustle culture thing.
Exactly. Every internet guru tells you to broadcast your goals, manifest your journey on social media, share your daily grind to build a personal brand.
Right. Attention is the literal currency.
Yes. So in a world where attention is currency, isn't letting success speak incredibly dangerous? Like, if you are entirely silent, don't you just get ignored while everyone else shouts their way to the top?
It's a great point. And honestly, it is profoundly difficult to execute, which is exactly why this philosophy frames it as the ultimate demonstration of power.
Really? How so?
Well, you have to understand the psychology behind why society wants you to build in public in the first place. The modern dopamine loop is wired to reward the announcement of a goal almost as much as the actual achievement of it.
Oh, that's so true.
People get chemically addicted to the premature applause. You tell social media you're going to write a book, you get 100 likes, your ego feels totally satisfied.
And you haven't written a single word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The silent dark mind completely rejects that entire economy of cheap dopamine.
It's kind of like the difference between building a raft and building an iceberg.
Oh, I like that. Expand on that.
The modern approach, the shouting, the constant update, it's like building a wooden raft. It's all happening right on the surface. It makes a big splash. It's highly visible. You can see everyone working on it.
But it's fragile.
Super fragile. A single wave of criticism or shift in the market can tip it right over. But this philosophy, the silent dark mind, is building an iceberg.
Because most of it is hidden.
Right. The visible success, the part that finally breaks the surface and speaks for itself, is just this tiny, undeniable tip. But hidden underneath the freezing water is this massive, heavy foundation of unrevealed moves, silent late nights, quiet calculations.
And that silent foundation is what actually sinks ships.
Exactly.
The physics of that iceberg analogy highlight the concept of controlled power perfectly. In the context of this channel, loudness is basically viewed as a leakage of energy.
A leakage of energy. That's a fascinating way to phrase it.
Yeah, it's a sign that you lack control over your own internal state, so you try to compensate by exerting control over a room, you raise your voice, you throw your weight around. But true power here has absolutely nothing to do with volume or physical force or intimidation.
It completely redefines the archetype of the powerful person. Usually we picture, the most aggressive person in the boardroom, the one dominating the conversation and interrupting everyone else.
But the silent dark mind views that aggressive person as weak.
Because they're desperate for validation.
Exactly. They are loud because they need you to validate their power. True power is defined by the supreme discipline of withholding information.
Wow.
It's the ability to sit quietly with your ambition, to execute your strategy in total silence, and basically wait until the results are so physically undeniable that they don't even require a press release. The results dictate the new reality.
But sitting with that ambition, that takes a terrifying amount of patience. It means you have to be completely willing to be underestimated by people.
Oh, absolutely.
You might have to sit in a meeting and just let someone talk down to you or explain something to you that you already understand perfectly well while you are secretly making your silent moves beneath the surface.
Right.
How do you keep your ego in check when people are treating you like you're invisible?
The psychological armor that this philosophy provides makes being underestimated feel like a strategic advantage rather than a personal insult.
A strategic advantage.
Think about it. When someone underestimates you, they lower their guard. They speak way more freely, they reveal their own flaws, and they essentially hand you more of that raw data we talked about earlier.
The black hole absorbs it all.
Right. Your ego doesn't need them to think you're smart because you're playing a much longer game.
But playing your cards that close to your chest comes with a massive isolating risk, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, if you never react and you view everyone through this cold, analytical lens, how do you handle the people in your life who inevitably take advantage of that silence? This leads us into the final and frankly the heaviest section of this doctrine. If the silent mind is so perfectly controlled, how does it handle the unpredictable, disappointing nature of human relationships?
Now we enter the crucible of adversity. We are shifting from the individual's proactive strategy for success to their defensive mechanisms against what is a highly transactional world.
Yeah, and this channel definitely doesn't view relationships through rose-colored glasses.
Not at all. Rule 4 operates on the premise that fake respect always disappears when benefits end.
And then it pairs that with Rule 5, a very specific view on hardship, stating that difficult times don't change people, they expose who is real all along.
Expose is the key word there.
I really want to focus on that word expose because it changes the entire paradigm of how we view suffering and adversity. Usually we talk about difficult times as this fiery forge.
Right, like pressure creates diamonds.
Exactly. We say the fire remakes the metal of a person. We think going through a tragedy or losing a job fundamentally alters who someone is. But this philosophy completely rejects the forge.
Well, how does it reframe it?
Hardship isn't a fire that remakes you. It is a harsh, blinding spotlight that simply strips away the fresh coat of paint to reveal the underlying structure of a person.
Oh, that's incredibly stark.
Right. If you lose all your money or you lose your status, the difficult time doesn't turn your friends into bad people. It acts like a brutal home inspection.
A home inspection?
Yeah, it just shines a flashlight on the floorboards to show whether the beam underneath was solid steel or if it was rotting wood the entire time. It's a revelation, not a transformation.
That is a brilliant way to understand it. The channel views human behavior with clinical detachment.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily argue that people are completely incapable of growth, but it operates on the defensive assumption that most social facades are inherently fragile and conditional.
Which goes back to that deeply transactional reality of fake respect.
Exactly. If you're listening, think about the last time you left a job or moved to a new city or couldn't offer a specific favor to someone anymore.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Right. How many of those seemingly vital, warm relationships just evaporated the second you weren't sharing a zip code or providing a mutual benefit?
Because the respect was tied to the utility, not the person. But does this mean the silent dark mind views human nature as inherently selfish? Is there literally no room for genuine loyalty in this worldview? Because it sounds like a profoundly lonely way to live, just assuming everyone is a parasite waiting for the benefits to end.
It isn't about assuming everyone is evil. It is about refusing to be blinded by optimism.
Okay, that's a fair distinction.
And when you synthesize these concepts, you realize why the silent mind operates with such extreme emotional stability. A person practicing this philosophy does not get emotionally devastated by betrayal.
Wait, how can you not be devastated when someone betrays you? That is a universal human pain.
They don't spiral into despair when a friend abandons them or a business partner turns on them because they aren't surprised.
Ah,
This links all the way back to the very first concept of our deep dive. The silent mind observes everything.
oh my gosh, you're right.
While the loud mind was distracted by the surface-level flattery, enjoying the fake respect in the good times, the silent mind was quietly, continuously running stress tests on the structural integrity of the relationship.
So they were watching how that person treated the waiter,
Yes.
how they acted when they didn't get their way, how they spoke about others behind their backs.
The optical filter was letting in all the data. It was analyzing the subtle cues, noting who was only there for the utility, but it was filtering out the urge to confront it prematurely or force an argument.
You just file the data away.
Precisely. So when the difficult time finally arrives and the spotlight strips away the paint, the silent mind isn't shocked to find Rod. The end of the benefits merely triggered the inevitable reveal.
Because the emotional devastation of betrayal actually comes from the gap between your expectations and reality.
Exactly. And the silent mind closes that gap by observing the reality of the person from day one. They already knew the structure was compromised, so the collapse is just a confirmation of their data.
Wow. It is a completely unified, airtight system of thought.
It really is.
You observe the world without reacting to it. You move toward your goals without announcing them. And you view human relationships without the vulnerability of illusions.
It's remarkably cohesive.
Mm.
And I think it's vital to understand that adopting the posture of the silent dark mind is not an act of passivity.
Right. It's not weakness.
No, it's not about hiding in the shadows or being a wallflower because you're afraid of conflict. It is an aggressive, heavy, defensive philosophy about weaponizing your own attention.
It's about maintaining absolute ironclad control over your own nervous system and viewing the people around you with piercing, unapologetic clarity,
It's choosing to be the heaviest object in the room.
anchored by your own internal gravity rather than being blown around by the hot air of everyone else's reactions.
Exactly. Because in an era defined by constant oversharing, performative outrage, and the demand for instant loud reactions to every minor stimulus, adopting the discipline of the silent dark mind might just be the ultimate modern superpower.
It is the immense power of simply opting out of the noise.
The untouchable power of the unrevealed move.
As we wrap up this journey through these heavy stone axioms, I want to leave you with a final puzzle to mull over on your own. We've talked extensively about how this philosophy operates against the loud, reactive world.
Right.
But let's run a stress test on the doctrine itself.
Oh, I like this. What happens when the philosophy turns inward?
Exactly that. Think about it. If a loud mind constantly reacts to the board, and a silent mind silently moves the pieces, what happens when two silent dark minds find themselves playing on the exact same board?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a fascinating paradox.
Right, because if neither person ever reveals their next move,
Yep.
if both are relentlessly hoarding information, absorbing every detail, and absolutely refusing to react to the other.
Just perfectly filtering each other out.
Yeah. If they both only observe, waiting for the other to make a mistake, how does the game ever end? Do they just sit there in the dark, perfectly still, locked in a stalemate until one of them finally blinks?
Or, given the invisible nature of how they operate, does the game end before anyone even realizes it started? The channel warned us. Too late when noticed. It's entirely possible the lethal move happens in total silence, and the loser only realizes They were playing a game after they've already been defeated.
Which brings us right back to that ancient, quiet library, just heavy sentences carved in stone, and the overwhelming, unsettling realization that in any room you walk into, the most dangerous threat isn't the person making the most noise.
It's not the one demanding the most attention or throwing their weight around.
No, the most dangerous element is always the one who hasn't made a sound.